Welcome everyone to Awesome Truth, a wrestling book club. I'm your host Steve Semino, and with me, as always, is my co-host Walt Schwenk. Hey, Walters,
Hello, Steven. How's it going?
my friend. It is going very well. We are back on Awesome Truth, and today we are talking about a new documentary series that's sweeping the nation. Walt, is that correct? Is Unreal sweeping the nation?
Is it new
It
still?
came out in July 29th, so it's within a month of this episode coming out. That's for us, that's pretty good.
Okay, yeah, then I guess it's still technically new, although
And it's
I
and it's
feel
and it's sweeping, right? That the said nation.
it's, we have to really define what sweeping means.
Well, I know Raw is the hottest show in the world. If you've listened to WWE, it's just unstoppable. So I have to imagine Unreal is truly just, number one with a bullet.
Yeah, it's the new drive to survive, only in scripted professional sports entertainment.
Well, as I said, we are, as you can probably guess from the name of the show and from what we're talking about WWE Unreal, which is a new series on Netflix. It coincides with Raw being on Netflix now. And it's, like we said, a documentary series. It's very similar to 100 things we've covered on the show. Some of these, when you watch these things, you're like, oh my God, we're doing this again. Like, same topics, same presentation, but it does have that shiny sort of gloss, especially that some of those things on Peacock's had that were aimed at, a more mass audience as opposed to, a very specific WWE audience. It does seem like one of these brands of WWE documentaries that is for a bit of a broader viewing market.
Yeah, I mean, this feels very familiar in a sense that like WWE 24 is pretty much the same stories, same presentation, very similar presentation, I should say. Like nothing is like just jumps out as like this is incredibly different than what we've been exposed to with the WWE documentary production arm. Except that with the only difference being is that it's more focused on the greater ecosystem and creative and the company as a whole, and less about one individual for an extended period of time. So,
And
you
I don't
know,
believe this is a WWE production at all. I think it's through the production companies involved. Look like a Peyton Manning's name comes up in the credits. Did you see that?
Omaha Productions, I think,
Yeah,
does
Omaha Produ
this.
It's according to
So,
the Wikipedia, Omaha Productions, NFL Films, and Skydance Sports. So I think this is a true. Obviously, I think WWE is intimately involved, but this is not like a network production. This has a little bit coming from a slightly different perspective, but
sure,
same
yeah,
idea.
exactly. I'm not suggesting that it is a carbon copy or it's the same forces that brought you Kofi Kingston 24 or Chronicle, but like, you squint hard enough, it's like it's the same shit, which honestly isn't a slight. I think that's actually not a bad thing at all. Those 24s actually came out pretty good.
Yeah.
Just they're just more focused because it's more about one person versus these are kind of all over the map in both a way that makes sense and at the same time a way that is kind of random.
Yeah, I mean, my first thought, you're right. It is, like I said, it's some well-trod territory, but it has a little, but it does, it also comes at it, even though it's well-trod. There's a few scenes in at least the first couple episodes that are very introductory. Like, here's what the pipe bomb was. Here's who Dusty Rhodes was. Here's who Triple H was. Like, they are certainly introducing characters and ideas and stories to fans who might be a little, familiar with WWE but not super familiar or wrestling in general. So yeah, that's the part where I think it feels, public facing in that sense, where it's like, okay, you might just want to watch this for no reason, which I don't know who those people are. Like we've talked about that before. Like I'm always fascinated to actually meet these people who don't like wrestling, don't watch Raw, don't know the history, but are popping on Unreal. Like I don't necessarily think those people exist. Maybe they do because Netflix has access to a lot of data and they would probably know. But I just would like to meet that subset of human being.
I would not, but
That's true. Yeah. They definitely wouldn't. Well, yeah, maybe they'll find our show too. Who knows? But probably not.
yeah, right. Um, yeah, it's one of those things where you see this same format in I think Netflix, the Formula One series. It is called Drive to Survive, right?
I believe so. That sounds right.
Okay. Never seen it, but like I kind of
Me
understand
neither.
it. I understand, I get it. Like on just like the log line, it's like, oh, behind the scenes drama of insert sport, like Hard Knocks, same idea. Obviously, there are sports, so there's a little bit. It's just like it's just different. I was trying to place this. I'm like what is like obviously this is like the WWE's version of that, but it's just I mean I'm not going to articulate it in a pithy way. It's just not the same, right? I mean, like it's just
Yeah.
not the fucking same.
No, it's not. And like to me, the biggest issue is apparent in the first episode because it is a Netflix documentary series about at least again about the first episode about Raw moving to Netflix. So it's Netflix about Netflix. And one thing they keep repeating and emphasizing so much, oh my God, what a big deal. This is bigger than Mania. This is crazy. We're having, oh, like, I can't believe this is happening. And we have the hindsight now of knowing, A, that show is not very good. B, the ratings do not seem to have the quote unquote ratings don't seem to have gotten crazy better since they moved to Netflix. And see, it's the same. Raw is still Raw. Like it's the same Raw that it always was, you know. So
Yeah.
it just feels like them filleting themselves in a way where I'm instantly turned off, and I'm like, okay, it reminds you this is a propaganda machine in a way that even though the Formula One show and the Hard Knocks, these obviously are also propaganda machines to a certain extent for Formula One and the NFL. There's they can't predict, they can't tell you what's going to happen. You know, they're filming the events and they are interpreting them after they occur, and they're real events. Like this is them. There's realness to this, obviously, to wrestling, but they're also trying to puff up and dramatize things they already know are going to happen, things they're planning to happen. Like there's just it does not work the same way, and it feels sort of phony, and it just does not work for me like those other actual quote unquote reality shows do.
Yeah. There is a level of inauthenticity here where it's you're seeing a scripted program unfold in an unscripted way. It's like it just becomes this weird infinite loop of like, well, but is it is that part scripted though? Is this manufactured?
Yeah,
Because
like
they already are
H
used
is
to doing that.
backstage on camera, knows he's on camera, is has been a wrestling performer for 30 years, and then is saying things, and you're like, is he saying this because that's what he does every day at his job, or is he saying this because now they're filming him, you know? And I guess that's sort of interesting to dissect, but not that interesting, you know. Not every
Yeah.
episode, like not to the extent of the show you'd have to do to make the show really good.
Yeah. How much of the quote unquote writers room where they're trying to do the rumble, like how much of that is like, hey, let's actually have a camera like on record the like because I imagine that decision not doesn't happen within a 20-minute span. And
Yeah.
so you're seeing this like moment unfold, but it's like, is this like recreated for dramatization where they're going through all the bad ideas or all the lazy answers and then it's like, well, what about this new idea that we just thought of on the spot? It's like,
What about
how much of that was just
Charlotte?
recreated? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. But
Wow, Charlotte, you say interesting. But yeah, it feels like they had the cameras come in and they said, "Okay, let's get like three sound bites right off the top, and then let's get the cameras the fuck out of here, and then we'll actually do our meeting." You know,
right.
let's knock this right out because we don't want these cameras in here all day. Like we have to actually meet for 2 hours and script these shows. So yeah, it's just and again, I just don't find like I know there are people on the internet who obsess over these things and are wrestling fans in their own way and probably find this fascinating. And there are parts of it that are objectively fascinating. But it's to me, it's the stuff like when they're talking about the gorilla position and they're saying like
Oh
we
God.
rebuild it every night and this is where everybody sits and this is what they do. To me, I'm like, I did not know that. Like that is cool. That is new information. Like obviously know a lot about gorilla from various books and documentaries, but I've never had someone break down how it actually sort of functions in that way. And I was like, this is great. Like, give me more of this. Maybe not everybody wants that, but this is what I want to see from my wrestling documentaries. Is here's how the actual nuts and bolts of this stuff work.
I see. I have the opposite opinion. I'm like, if only on that one topic.
You don't want to learn about gorilla?
I feel like I've seen Gorilla so many fucking
But did you know?
times.
Do you know where H sits in gorilla exactly?
Yeah, he sits in the corner just like Vince used
I
to.
guess,
Like,
but I've never seen like a diagram of it before. I was like, okay, like that's where Abyss sits. Wow, cool.
right.
That's where Billy Kidman
Well,
sits.
like the methodology and the theory behind it, or if there's like some level of thought beyond, hey, there's a bunch of tables. Let's position like, it's like a video village. It's like, yeah, there you would put a client in a certain seat in a certain way. It's coming from my advertising background, but it's like, yeah, like there might be a methodology, but at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, here's a closet, and there's a bunch of monitors. Like just fucking like put a bunch of chairs there, and like that's where we're gonna watch the like dailies or whatever. But you get to a certain point where when you see Jay Uso, and it's in the second episode, win the Rumble, and he walks backstage, and it's the WWE Unreal cameras. It's kind of like looking at a mirrored computer screen that has a video chat where you just see the smaller mirror, like smaller screens just like infinitely
Yeah.
continue. It's like that with like cameras at this point because it's like WWE is always recording the fucking gorilla position, especially for big moments, especially because they know that they're going to be documenting this shit all the time. And so Netflix is the first set of cameras. Then there's WWE Productions. Then there's like people's cell phones that are just recording the moment for social media. Then there's like another set of camera, cell phone camera. So it's just like keeps going on and on. I'm to the point where I'm like, this, like, I, there's no mystery anymore.
Yeah.
It's not Pandora's box. It is so like I can draw you a picture of what gorilla looks like because it's just like so overexposed now through the course of all of these documentaries we've seen.
Or it's like when Need for Speed or whatever his name is, they show the backstage part of him getting in the
I
Rumble
show
match.
speed.
And they show, yeah, I show Speed. Thank you. Need for
Yeah.
Speed. They show him. They show like I said, they show H acting in Gorilla and doing the fake out with Tozawa and being like, someone's got to be in the match. Speed, you're in there. But we see it from the perspective of, like you said, the Netflix cameras, not the Peacock cameras, I guess, for the pay per view. So you're like, I guess that's cool, but is it like, do I need like what do I do
Yeah.
with this information? Like what do I do?
Right.
Like I said, what do I like? I'm like yeah, they are. It seems exhausting to be honest. Like it's just constant. I guess it'd be to work in
Yeah.
production there would be a never-ending puzzle that's kind of fun to solve. But like I don't know, man. There's just too much going on.
I mean, like there has to be a mindset for Gorilla at this point of where people are sitting because you have like so many different camera crews floating in and out there. Like you need to have traffic at some point for all these bodies. And like, this isn't the WrestleMania 9 documentary anymore where people are like, well, what do you film? Like, what do you mean? Like, we're not live. Why are you filming me? It's like everybody's so used to it at this point. There's just no mystery, which again, like it's not a knock on the show, but like at the same time, it kind of is because it's being sold as this unprecedented look, and it's so precedented.
It's
It's
extremely precedented.
it's so
It's
goddamn precedented.
it's unprecedented, like dot 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 on Netflix in this capacity. But like you
Yeah.
said, if you for especially for you and I who've watched so many of these over the course of 8 years now, it's like, oh my God. Like even if I haven't seen this exact version of it, we've seen 100 variations on it. Like what are they trying to how are they even possibly going with that lie?
Right. And so it kind of just you kind of have to just take the morsels of these individual stories and derive value from that. Like, for example, like learning about Chelsea Green in the third episode. I don't
Which is
really know anything
good.
about Chelsea Green.
That
Yeah,
was that's
exactly.
maybe the best part of the 3 episodes.
such a
No,
fucking
there's one part that's better, but that's the best. Like she's the best
yeah.
character on this show.
Well, she's just a character that we haven't. She's never gonna get her own goddamn doc unless like something crazy happens between now and whenever. But like, yeah, we're never gonna learn about her, and she's a character everybody knows and has been around the business. I think she's still married to Matt Cardona. Uh,
Yeah, who's not in there? They don't. We don't even get a Matt Cardona in the background waving or anything like that.
yeah, which is another reason why I never like I take these things with a grain of salt. Like we like, yeah, if you're really going to give us like a raw, unfiltered look, like show fucking Matt Cardona.
Yeah, show me all his
does
action figures. I want to see those figures.
like he's sitting there, like he's part of this story too. He's fucking sitting there with his like a wife, girlfriend, whatever.
They're married. You're right
Okay,
about that.
fair enough. All right, and so like that's another thing where it's like you're going to reveal certain layers of the onion, not that. But ultimately, like the Chelsea Green stuff was great, and it was she's such a fucking baby. I don't know how you don't root for her after watching this, but like
You know they
that's
took
the
the belt
thing.
off her in May, right? So like, oh, it's another flaw of this show is they make a big deal like she won the U.S. title, hooray! She's so over, she's so organic, and then 5 months later she no longer has the title anymore. She's doing
Sure.
NXT stuff now, so like it just
Oh
shows like it's part of my biggest issue with this, and this is an issue we've raised with other versions of the show. Specifically, I think 365 is they when you make like they clearly were like, okay, we're gonna cover basically Survivor Series, sort of, but like a really Rumble Netflix premiere, Rumble, a Limb Champ, Mania. But you're there's no guarantee that things of interest are going to happen, you know? And obviously,
yeah.
I think we'll say now, you and I have not gotten through episodes 4 or 5. So this is sort of a middle of the series. Are we going to stick with this? And I'm
Hmm.
intrigued in the sense that episode 4 is about the Cena heel turn and episode 5 is about Mania. But I'm mostly intrigued in a dark, like in like a dark humor sense, like that heel turn was bad and that Mania was bad. So I'm intrigued to see how they sell them both as good because I know they're going to because it's propaganda, but I don't know how they're going. But like that's, and I guess maybe at the time they made this, the heel turn seemed interesting and it went off the rails later. But like I'm fascinated to see what tactics they're going to take to be like, oh, whoa, it's like Hogan joining the NWO. It's like this, it's like that. When we all know that it is clearly not that.
And how much do they retcon too? Because like I'm sure it bites in the moment. Like when he did turn, it was very impactful.
Yeah,
Everybody talked about it. Like people who I like my wife's friends, female friends who do not watch wrestling knew about John Cena turning heel. It's like
yeah.
that's weird. Like why would you know about that, Susan? No. But ultimately it's like it's it was impactful in the moment. It just obviously did not work out the way that we all could have imagined it. So it's like, do you retcon that and say, yeah, well, it was this, but then ended up being this, or because they had months to re-record or record. And that's the part where I'm curious to see is like, do they just admit the L, or do we just pretend like this is a moment of time and like, yay, us, we did it?
I mean, they don't have to admit the L in the sense that if they ended at Mania, Mania was the moment where everyone said, "Uh oh, like this." If this was going anywhere, it would have gone somewhere at Mania, and it didn't. Meaning Dwayne wasn't there,
Right.
Travis Scott wasn't there, so everyone was like, and the match was terrible. So maybe again, out of morbid curiosity, I probably will get to that point just to say, oh wow, that's how they spun this match that I think everybody disliked, and we'll see what they do with that. But yeah, to my initial point, they have to cover all these things as monumental, and they're just not that monumental. Like Jay winning the Rumble is interesting. Charlotte winning the Rumble is not interesting at all. Chelsea Green is, I like Chelsea Green as a character, but that doesn't go anywhere, and it ultimately doesn't matter. So like it's just this they give themselves this mandatory time limit, which I understand. You can't like film for a year. Sometimes you got to take what you have. But
Mhm.
from the angle in which they produce these things, where everything is so important and everything WWE does is neat and worth dissecting and worth discussing. Sometimes that just rings hollow because you're like, this is just it's not a great mania. It's not a great build up. It's just you botch the heel turn. Like it's just the timing is not great for them to release this series of monumental occurrences, none of which are really monumental. And Netflix premiere chief among them too.
Yeah. And then like trying to come up with the comp of like Hard Knocks, for example. I don't know about Drive This Rob. I've never watched it. Never. I don't want to say I never will. Maybe I'm going to be the world's biggest F1 race fan.
People say it's very good. It gets people into F1, I'm told.
That's what I hear too, but because I haven't watched it, too busy watching fucking Unreal. Guess I'm just gonna.
You act like you literally had like 5 hours. You're like, well, what am I gonna do with these 5 hours? I have a hard out after five.
Sometimes, sometimes, yeah, you have to get Unreal in when whatever. There's negative space in your schedule. But the thing about Hard Knocks is you have the immediacy of this is happening in training camp. The episode's coming out within 7 business days, and therefore, like, if you covered the Cleveland Browns last year, for example, not to make this a football podcast, and then you came out with these episodes like in week 17, obviously like nobody would give a shit because that the Cleveland Browns were the worst teams in football last year. So it's like I think that kind of plays with what you're saying is like, yeah, because we waited so long, so much in wrestling changes so quickly all the time that like Cena's not even a fucking heel anymore, and we're like
Yeah, we're
have
on to a
like two
totally unrelated
episodes.
thing with Brock now. That is obviously not in this at all because it doesn't. That's not a thing. It wasn't a thing 6 months ago.
Right. And like, especially in wrestling too, things become really outdated really quickly. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, I think just
I think it's
this
the
come,
perfect point. I think that's I never even thought about it that way, but you're 100% right. Like this just and I think it's because they're not saying anything interesting because it's just built to promote the product and then they're putting it out 5 months later so the product is totally shifted by then because of a relatively failed angle and show, failed from a creative perspective. So you're like what am I doing here? Like all you really have to hang your hat on is I guess I'll see how the sausage is made. And like we said, there's just not that much sausage to be made in the first place or you've already seen this sausage factory before and you're like whatever, like it's the same version of it that was on Peacock 2 years ago.
right. Or you've heard all the stories of people yelling at each other back. I will say the Abyss scene
I was
is,
just gonna say and I assume I think you're a little more plugged into like the wrestling media
oh
ecosystem.
boy.
Are people talking about that? Is that like the thing from the show?
I mean, I think that's the most memorable thing just because it's like we
Because
build up.
it's different, right? And it has
Yes.
consequence, and it's like it stands out.
Well, I love how it's like we're building up Rhea Ripley, we're building up CM Punk returning, we're building up like Cody Rhodes, and then suddenly you have this scene about Abyss getting chewed out because he went long, and it's just like, well, that wasn't the logical progression of this story of like a WWE producer just like eating shit right now. I'm like,
But it's not even
but
Abyss's
I'm
fault
not
though.
sure.
It's because Seth and Punk are being assholes. Like that's the implication is
Yeah.
they just aren't they're just taking their sweet time and everyone else is mad and Abyss knows that he needs to move them along, but they just aren't listening to him.
I mean, it was overproduced, it was
That is true.
contrived, it
That's
was.
true. I guess in that sense, you're right. Bruce does call Abyss out in that way, and then Abyss goes to Regal. That's so great. Regal literally turns his 45 degrees to talk to Regal, and is like, "Am I in trouble?" Like Bruce is right there still. Like you're in you're in that tiny little room.
Yeah.
You're trying to you're instantly just asking. It's such a funny. That's how so like all the books we've read again about wrestlers. That's so how so many of them are. They all have such thin skin. They all are so butthurt all the time.
Right.
So it's so funny to see Abyss being like, "Oh no, am I in trouble?" It's like you're like 6'10", dude. Like, what are you so worried about? This fat man is mad at you. Like, I know it's your job and you don't want to fuck up at work, but like, it's also just so silly to see this guy cowering because it's such a weird circumstance.
But also too, it's funny because Bruce is like OG. He's like old regime, and there is that level of chewing out people and making them feel like really making them feel shitty. And H is like, new regime and new light and new direction. And hey, everybody, I'm gonna dap everybody. I'm gonna like take the picture with every new champion. I'm gonna like everybody, I'm gonna congratulate everybody. Like I've never seen Triple H call someone out for either doing the wrong thing, being overproduced. He's usually giving positive feedback, and that's the thing I was kind of keying in on. Like, that was a very Vince move, is to like chew out Abyss for like that fuck up. And I haven't seen H in any of these behind the scenes things chew anybody out, or maybe I
So,
just don't
do you
remember.
think? I mean, it's very possible. Do you think Bruce is just the bad cop? Then is that? Do you think that's the dynamic they have now?
Maybe, or
Bruce is
maybe
there to be an asshole, and H is like, oh, I'll go off in the corner and like, oh, not that H had couldn't call him out, but maybe he just chooses to outsource that to his fat man friend.
I mean, if that's the case, then he certainly has his place on the show. Like, if that's what truly what he's there for, is to be the bad guy, and he's been doing that for 30, 40 years at this point. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not a bad choice. Like if that's a guy you're going to turn to, someone who can be an asshole, Bruce Pritchard certainly seems well suited to
Yeah.
that.
A
So
non-wrestler, no, no.
yeah, it's yeah, yelling at a giant man, yeah, for overproducing. But yeah, but like to your point too, they also don't. You never get to see them yelling at Punk or Seth, like who whether it's overproduced and contrived or whatever, they're still the ones having the match. Like no one says like, you guys could have done better, like it's just all we get is Abyss getting shit. So that's interesting too. Is it seems like a lot of it falls on his shoulders and the talent. Maybe they don't go unscathed, but we certainly don't see them get scathed.
Yeah, it's funny seeing Abyss too in this context. I don't think they've ever talked about Abyss, shown him before in a WWE product. Like, like I know who Abyss is. You know who
Oh
Abyss
sure,
is.
Michael Deutsch knows who Abyss is.
Michael Deutsch has seen plenty of Abyss content.
More than
Um,
any one man probably should.
yeah, but probably more than Abyss himself. But so that was just interesting to see. Like, they could have shown, with the shown producers, it's usually like, I guess, like Shane Helms
Or what's
and
his face?
Tyson Kidd,
Tyson Kidd.
Jason
Yeah,
Jordan.
yeah,
I think Bobby Roode now is a
yeah. Bobby Roode's there.
producer.
Bobby
Good
Roode
for
looks great
him.
too. Bobby Roode looks like he can still wrestle, and it's just like, yeah, I'm good. I'll just hang
Yeah,
back here now. Look handsome as hell.
yeah. I mean, he probably could still wrestle. I just don't know who would want that
Yeah, that's true.
at this point. But yeah, so that was that whole scene was just like, well, I will remember, but that's the only thing I will probably remember.
Yes, for
Not Rhea
sure.
Ripley's dogs. Like, I don't really give a shit about her. I mean,
Yeah.
I love dogs. I just don't. It's not
No, Rhea's
driving
dogs
the.
are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say too, to wrap us up here a little bit, it's just the timing of it is obviously interesting because, it's they get to obviously it's tied around Mania season, so they have that going for them, but they also get to talk about, Cena's goodbye tour. And I'm sure we'll get into that in the final two episodes more, should we decide to watch those. We probably will. But it's just so interesting to me. I'd like the other big sort of thing in this is CM Punk returning too. There's a lot of CM Punk in this. He's back. We've talked about him before many times, but those two guys and sort of their relationship to each other and to the fans and to wrestling is so interesting to me because when 10 years ago, let's say, when I moved to DC and we moved in together and I started watching wrestling again, which ultimately led to us doing the show, I would have said, God, Cena's so lame and Punk is so cool and like, oh, I can't. I'm so on Punk's side and like, what a total loser. And now that Cena's about to retire and Punk is back, it could not have flipped more drastic. Like everything I see, like there's a scene, I think episode two, or I forget which one it is, but Cena's doing his Make a Wish stuff with the kids, and he's being like the nicest, most supportive, friendly man in the world, and he's having these great conversations about wrestling with the kids, and you're like your heart melts, and you're like, what a fucking good guy, like Jesus. And then you get Punk, and all Punk is doing is, wow, I'm back, but I don't want to come back, but I'm back now, and H and I worked it out, and we're friends, and I really want to do Mania main event. And you're just like, Punk, like, shut up. Like, I'm so tired of this guy. Like, I get that he's a good performer and he has a lot of talent and whatever. It's his career. If he wants to come back and do this, he's back and bless him, I guess. But like, I just now that Cena's on his way out, I'm just like, God, I prefer John so much more to Phil at this point, and I just did not see that coming. And this really just illustrates for in this series why I now feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, 10 years ago, you're seeing the Cena Punk uh,
It was like what's right with
diametrically
wrestling versus what's wrong
opposed.
with wrestling, Like it was that's how it was sold both on the internet and even on the show to a certain extent.
Yeah. The characters of CM Punk and John Cena 10 years ago, it was clear that like one was represented one part of the audience in this character represented all the bad creative decisions that have been shoved down our throat for years. And then the other was like this refreshing guy who's like speaks for the audience. He represents the audience. He's not a suit. He's not part of the machine. And as a result, like you got Money in the Bank, I think like 2012 or whatever, like the big match between them where he left, yada yada yada. Like now you're kind of seeing the John Cena person and Phil Brooks the person, and they're still opposed. They're like completely opposites in so many ways. And yeah, seeing that now in 2025, it's like, yeah, John Cena the person is probably far better and more likable than like Phil Brooks, who through all of the AW and and then all of his like whining and gripes and stuff, it's like, yeah, this isn't someone I want to back anymore. Which is probably
No.
why Cena's getting like cheered everywhere, even as a super heel. Everyone was still like super into him.
Yeah. And like, yeah, I mean, Cena's going out, he's obviously, he loves wrestling and he loves WWE and he probably loves Vince. I think he has actually said he loves Vince, which is its own problem. I'm not saying I agree with John Cena's views on everything, but like he's on his way out, like on, going out on top ish and like, on his own terms and like gonna ride off into the sunset. Meanwhile, Punk comes back and is like borderline groveling and, does the whole Saudi Arabia I'm sorry thing and just has become just like another bootlicking member of the show, and again, that's fine. Like he's making good money. That's what he wants to do. He's not, I don't begrudge him for that, but just it just goes so against everything he was preaching and yelling about and carrying on like making himself sound like such a special guy for so many years and then to end your career like this, it just runs in such stark dichotomy to the guy who's going out being like, all right, I'm leaving, bye, see y'all later, I'm gonna go be in movies now and do my own thing, and one guy's just gonna go out in his shield as another member of the roster. And it's just so interesting to me. And like, and when you get this like, it's when you get this on the documentary, it just there's scenes where it further emphasizes how both of them function.
Yeah, I mean, it is. If nothing else, it's nice that they're documenting all these big moments in Cena's last run. But obviously,
Well, like you said, we'll see in the next couple episodes how enjoyable that is, because it'll be, it was a best laid plans thing that went very awry. So that's I guess that's the final question is, are you going to watch these last two episodes? Are you interested? Are you going to do it begrudgingly? Where do you stand at this point?
if my schedule opens up enough to watch 2 more hours of this,
Yeah, I know you got Drive to Survive. Maybe you're gonna try and interfere there. So you got to, yeah, clear two more.
there's plenty of other shit I would probably should and will be doing than watching more of this. But I don't know. I mean, that's the thing is if I don't have anything else to watch at the moment, I would put this on as just to see it. But I'm not curious. I'm not like, oh my God, how did we get to from point A to point B? I'm like, it doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah, I mean, just you saying that on this episode really, like, I would have said sure 100%, an hour ago. I was like, yeah, I'm fine, like I'm rolling through these, I'll finish the last two. But you're right, like it really just is so much has changed in 4 months, in 5 months, and like how much do I care about seeing the ideas before the change? Like not really. Like it's a good idea, I guess. Like it's good intentions and it's well produced and it's, I get what they're going for, but man, like I just do, it's just the whole Netflix thing is just so funny. Like everyone keeps acting like there's this untapped audience for wrestling, and instead it's like, okay, there are 2.5 million Raw watchers and there's like 800,000 Dynamite watchers, and that's really it. Like no matter what they do,
Yeah.
no matter where they go or how things change, that's kind of just the numbers now. And like, so that means, tell me, there's like 3 million wrestling fans, probably, give or take, and they'll
Yep.
probably watch your show no matter what service it's on, what channel, they'll find it. And other than that, like you're kind of out of luck.
I think that's fair. I am also curious too, just like what is Peyton? I assume Peyton Manning watches these if his company's making them. Like if he got EP,
Yeah,
good for him.
good for
What is he thinking about all this? He's clearly not from this world. He's like, what the fuck is this shit?
Peyton Manning, come on, Awesome Truth, right? Well, talk to us about Unreal.
Ooh, maybe we
Yeah.
should.
Do you think we can get Peyton
Oh,
Manning? I don't think we can.
what else is Peyton Manning
We couldn't.
doing?
We couldn't get Beefer. We're gonna get Peyton Manning.
Well, give me Peyton Manning's number two then.
You want like Frank Reich or something? Who was Peyton Manning's
His,
backup?
he hired Frank Reich to
Yeah.
be a producer on his
Well, just
documentaries.
getting a backup. Yeah, just backup got to follow him everywhere he goes.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Oh, I guess we'll see in the future. I don't know if we'll ever cover Unreal again, but I know my Netflix keeps telling me new episodes coming next year. Did you see that on your thing?
No, it didn't. But
It keeps saying that. I'm like, next year. That's so far away. Like, oh
yeah,
great, in 5 months there'll be more Unreal. Like that
it's
also
not
doesn't seem
soon enough.
accurate. Like, aren't they just gonna do Mania again? Like, why would they? Like, how is that even gonna work?
Well, maybe it's just ongoing. Every
Yeah.
month we're getting a new episode in a
Well,
year.
I guess if that's the case, we'll have to do more Unreal. But for now, I am not in a rush to watch those other episodes. But if you're a raw Netflix fan, if you're slogging through this weekly programming, if you're still enjoying the product, I guess watch Unreal. Like it's not unenjoyable. Like you said, there's some good stuff in there. But as a whole, it's just like it just feels like perfunctory. Like we made this documentary series because we're Netflix and we might as well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but like at the same time,
Yeah. Just because it makes
I'm
sense for
not
them doesn't mean we need to
impressed.
watch it and enjoy it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, oh well. What are you gonna do? It's the world we live in. So much content. There's always content. I guess it's good for us because it means we can have things to talk about. So hooray! Thank you,
Yeah.
Netflix.
Except I've exhausted all my Unreal talking points out in this first and only episode.
That's right. Well, if you want to hear us talk about more stuff in our archives, we have hundreds of episodes. They're all available at awesometruth.libsyn.com. You can also find them everywhere podcasts are delivered: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, old episodes and new. Subscribe to us for more. Walt, great to talk to you about Unreal. We'll see if we ever talk about it again. But you know what? There's always more content, so I'm sure we'll see what comes up.
Yeah, well, uh, more fun to come.
Yeah, always more fun to come. I gave you nothing to work with there, so that was pretty good. Wrap
Yeah,
up.
great. Yeah. All right, good. I'm glad that's what you were hoping for.
That's good enough. I'll take it. Thank you all so much for listening. And remember, the truth will set you free.